Well, welcome everybody. How are you feeling? What emotions have you felt today? Have you got angry in the past week? How did you regulate your emotions? I don't think it matters what age you are, you still get angry. You still experience emotions. But I think we get quicker at regulating those emotions. I know any of you who have been part of my community for a long time have heard me say, never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. And this is one of the biggest challenges we have in schools today, that we ask neurodiverse children to regulate their emotions. But imagine if you don't know what that emotion feels like. You've heard me talk about this when I talk about interoception. One of my mums had her son say to him, "Mummy, I don't know if I need a poo or I'm angry." Imagine being in a classroom with 30 children, as if every day you're not going to get frustrated, angry, upset, tired. I mean, let's face it, as a teacher, I probably feel all of those emotions. But we're asking children with neurodiversity to recognize and regulate those emotions without giving them what I call emotional literacy. So just like we teach literacy by teaching children different ways, phonics, sounding out, immersing them in language, reading to them reading to us. We repeat it. We ask parents to do reading every day. We ask parents to be involved in this. I believe whether you're a parent, teacher assistant, whatever age or stage today that you're listening to me, that I want you to actually make sure you go and check your emails, download the worksheets that I've created for you for this week, or if you're listening to the replay, they'll be free and downloadable straight on this blog or podcast episode. What I want you to actually focus on is teaching children to recognize and regulate their emotions. For example, if your school has zones of regulation, is this child ending up on the same zone every day? Are they ending up in the principal's office? Are they actually aware of their emotions and know what to do? Because in my experience, neurotypical kids seem to just work this out as they mature. And as Dr. Richard Eisenmeyer says, children with neurodiversity are 2 years behind their peers socially and emotionally. So we need to put in place strategies to help children recognize their emotions, and then they can regulate them. Okay? So how am I going to do this? Well, personally, I love using picture books. And my favorite is The Red Beast, which is written by Kay Algani. And I love this book so much that I wrote a workbook with her, The Red Beast Anger Workbook. And if you're listening to this podcast when it drops, I've got 7, 17, and a 70 for you. I've got 7 great ways to use the Red Beast book to help children. I got $17 off the bundle, the Red Beast workbook and the picture book, and $70 off my emotional regulation course, because I feel like if everybody just had these, it would make the world of difference. Now, just a little thing about the emotional regulation course. You can do it with the whole class or just with a group of children. Even though we say the course is 3 hours, it's not really 3 hours of viewing. What it is, it's all the printables and downloadables that you can use forever. Like I'm talking a thick folder of resources that you can just print and use forever. So for $79, you're getting me talking about how to use the resources plus a heap of resources. So I highly recommend you jump on now and have a look at the emotional regulation course. But let me tell you what you're going to get as activities to do this week. So I believe we need to actually use books like The Red Beast to help children recognize their emotions. So what I like to do is show the children the front cover of the book, The Red Beast book. And I like to, in younger children, because of the way the ego works, children under 7 don't like to think they have actually been angry. Sometimes it's better to actually make it not about them. So have you seen other people be angry? Have your friends ever been angry? Your cousins, your mum, your dad? So get them to think about, have they seen people being angry? Then I want you to actually ask the children what that red beast looks like. Now, when I do this with children, what I find is they start to realize the red beast isn't always loud. The red beast can be quiet. Some people shut down, remember? Some melt down. So the red beast can go quiet. So when your mum's angry, she stops talking. My mum is a classic of that. She gives me the silence treatment. And I love to share that with children. I'd love you to share. I mean, my mum's 87 and she still, when she's angry, stops talking, right? That's just how she is. So we need to talk about the red beast looks different in different people. Now, the advantage of using the red beast, it's a metaphor. And in the new and revised updated book of the red beast, Kay goes into explaining metaphors to children. It actually has great information at the back of the book, how to use the book. It's just a wonderful, like, other strategies to use. It talks about, why we use metaphors. So I highly recommend that you have a look at where Kay gives that little introduction in the book. But back to what I'm talking about. So in the worksheets I'm sending to you, I recommend you do more than just talking about anger, anxiety, jealousy, disappointment. Kay actually has picture books on all of those, and I love all of them, but I would recommend start with the angry one. Now, in my emotional regulation course, there's a bonus, which is a picture of the body, and you can do this anyway, but they're just time savers, all my activities in there. You could make all of them, but it would take you hours. I can assure you it probably took me 50 hours of getting all my old resources, putting them together, creating them for you. What you do is you get a picture of the body and get children to identify where they feel the red beast. Some people get red in the face. Some people cry. Some people sweat. Some people get loud. Some go quiet. Get children to actually, on that picture of the body, think about what anger feels like to them. Do they clench their fists? Do they grit their teeth? What does anger feel like? Because remember that little boy who said in his tummy, is he angry or does he need a poo? So we need to talk to children about this, because neurodiverse children really struggle with that interoception, which is recognizing emotions, but it's also recognizing they're tired, hungry. If you teach any audio ADHD kids, which hopefully you've listened to the podcast episode so you understand about that comorbidity of autism and ADHD, that group of children get the hungry, angry, the hangry very fast. It comes on really fast, and that families will know. They carry around a snack. I have worked with enough children with audio ADHD to know that you've got to have that drink on board, that food on board. Make sure that you get that toilet food drink out of the way, because so often that's where the behavior comes from. Okay. So maybe when you're talking about this, you can also talk about, what does thirst feel like? What does hunger feel like? What does needing the toilet feel like? You can talk about all of this. Okay. But let's go back to the red beast. So what I like to do is look at the book to start and be like, have you ever seen the red beast in you or other people? And then get the children to talk about that. Where does it feel in their body? And then I actually like to get them to tell me, have you ever made anyone angry? Your brother, when you took his iPad, your mum. I want you children to think, have you ever made someone be angry? What did anger look like to them? Because it's recognizing your own emotions is part of emotional regulation, but recognizing others is really important too. And this is often why neurodiverse children accidentally burn out their friends, because they don't notice their friend getting frustrated, angry, anxious, disappointed. They don't recognize those facial expressions in other people. And one of the things I've done in the early years, and I highly recommend, and it's in my emotional regulation course, plus in your 7 activities to do as a bonus activity, I like to get all the children, if you have permission to take photos of their faces, get them all to do an angry face. And then I take photos of those and we put them up. This is what an angry face looks like. This is what a sad face looks like. This is what a disappointed face looks like. This is what, if I'm jealous, you can do all different facial expressions. Please do not go and cut out photos of magazines. Not that we have magazines anymore, but don't go on Google and Google angry faces. Make it actually children they know, adults they know, even staff. Why don't you get all the staff to make an angry face? The kids will love it. It's so more engaging when it's people you know. But for neurodiverse children, this is really helpful. Dean Beadle, who many of you know and might have done his teacher assistant course, his executive functioning course. There is 2 courses I have. Sorry, I was thinking about that he also used to come to Australia. Anyway, Dean Beadle, when he used to come to Australia and New Zealand, would tell this fabulous story, which I absolutely loved, about him as a journalist, because he originally studied journalism and he was doing photos for the newspaper. And this is back in the day before we had our phones and could instantly get pictures, okay? And the person taking the photos was like, he was doing exercise classes and he had to show that he was exhausted or tired or loving it, right? Every photo looked the same. Even though Dean thought he was smiling really well, he was frowning, looking angry, every photo looked the same. He could not believe it. It was the first time in his life he'd had that feedback. So this has given me the insight from the lived experience that sometimes our children don't even know that they're just giving that deadpan look all the time. They're not meaning to be like that. It's just that they're he explains that smiling, he actually has to use so many muscles, it can be painful. A little bit like Temple Grandin explains eye contact can be painful. So taking photos of the actual children or the whole class or adults can be so much fun. And families, why don't you do it with the grandparents, the cousins? Make a happy face, angry face, and see if your child can recognize faces in the people they know and love, not some random off Google. Anyway, I'll move on from that rant. So first of all, we're going to make a list of things that make other people feel angry, or probably 8 and older, what makes the child themselves feel angry. Have they ever made other people angry? So they're thinking about other people's emotions. Then discuss in their body where that anger is and where that anger is for other people. So when mum's angry, when dad's angry, when your friend's angry, okay? And then make a list of times the child actually experienced being angry. What makes them angry? Because remember, when we're doing the zones of regulation, the child needs to know, oh, this is a trigger for me. I didn't get my turn on my iPad and now I'm angry with my teacher. I didn't get to be first in the line and now I'm angry because I was there and someone pushed in. I want you to actually identify what could be a trigger, because if the child can't recognize it, how can they calm down? So then they're going to do that. Now, don't stress. I know I'm talking really fast. Remember, this is in the free downloadable. You don't need to write notes, okay? So now we're going to make a list of what helped us calm down. This is the bit that might shock you. Neurotypical kids can quickly tell you what helped them calm down. Neurodiverse children might struggle with that. And that's why my emotional regulation course is so important, because it includes helping this child work out what calms them down. Is it a drink? Is it talking to somebody? Is it reading a book? Is it doing some physical activity? Like, what calms them down? And one of the activities in the emotional regulation course is creating a wheel of calm, where the child moves the wheel around to what helps them calm. Because remember, anxiety up, problem solving down. When they are starting to get angry, they cannot access that part of their brain. Okay? That their amygdala is triggered. And Temple Grandin course, I talk about how that is the one thing in MRIs that has been found to be different in neurodiverse children, is their amygdala is different. So that is the part of the brain that makes them angry. Oh, by the way, if you don't know about the amygdala, we talk all about that in the Red Beast workbook, and we explain it to children too. I'm just going to read your book. What wakes up a red beast? Once I knew, so this is chapter 4, so it sort of goes through some of the things I just talked about. Once I knew how to calm the red beast and put him back to sleep, I needed to figure out what woke him up. My Uncle Charlie says there are things called triggers. He says deep inside everyone's brain is a place called the amygdala, and it explains how it's pronounced, amygdala, okay? A trigger can set off a reaction in the amygdala, the part of the brain that senses trouble. Actually, there are 2 of them, one on each side of the brain, and then we've got a picture of the brain and the amygdala. Uncle Charlie says that brains are made to do this, to keep us aware of danger. So we can stay safe. The amygdala is part of our primitive brain and develops first. It is sometimes called the reptilian brain. And just a side note for children who love reptiles, I'll often they know all about it and they'll tell you all about that, which is wonderful. Back to the book. If we feel anxious or afraid, which I do quite a lot of the time, the amygdala switches on automatically. And when this happens, the thinking brain gets switched off. My uncle says that the amygdala has learned to be overprotective. It may press the panic button too soon. And then all we can really do when this happens is one of 5 things called the 5 Fs. Freeze, flee, flight, fight, fluster, or flock. And the book goes into all of those. Honestly, this Red Beast Anger Workbook, parents, I highly recommend you think about getting the bundle for Christmas. The kids won't think it's like homework. They'll think it's fun. The workbook's got word finds and activities. It's a 14-day program that will really help children, because what I know is my children get just as upset as me when they get angry. I don't know about you, but if I ever get angry, it can take me quite a while to recover from that. I don't like being angry with people. It can be hard. I'd much rather children learn what to do. Anyway, those 5 Fs, when we were asking in the beginning, what does anger look like? I would encourage you to make sure you get those 5 Fs from the children, from the whole class. Okay. Oh, I know lots of librarians listen to this podcast. Teachers would love it if you do this with your library, like your whole class library time. And then in my emotional regulation course, I actually have a list of great picture books that talk about feelings. Imagine saying every child had to find a book on feelings, whether this week, everyone's going to take a book back to the classroom on feelings. Because so often children go back to the same books they know, which is great, but let's find books on feelings. And then I know myself as a classroom teacher, I would always read the library books the kids brought back to the class across the week, and we'd swap over our library in the classroom. So imagine we have a whole week on feelings, librarians. So just a thought, and all the activities are in the handout that comes with the podcast. Don't forget. So make a list of what children have done to calm themselves. Okay, this can be breathing exercises and all the rest. Then discuss how to be supportive when you see other children experiencing these emotions. So I like to get children to go around and I like to do stand-up activities these days. So everyone stand up, walk around, ask 5 people what they would like them to do to help support them when they are feeling angry or upset, whatever emotion you're doing. And then I highly recommend you make a poster and display it for the children to refer back to. Or make an individual book for the student with autism, ADHD, or ADHD that they can refer back to help them manage their emotions. And maybe at the back, Dr. Tony Atwood in his course talks about actually children recording their success stories. When have they been successful at regulating their emotions? And parents, I'd particularly like you to do that activity, to make a book about anger, disappointment, envious, anxiety, and then have a little picture book for each child. And they're so easy to make these days. Put in photos of the child with their face. And then when have they regulated that emotion? When have they been successful at that? When were they disappointed and regulated that emotion? Actually share examples that they can refer back to of their successes for those emotions. Okay. In the handout, it has a little table. Have you ever felt? What made you feel this way? How did you react? Did you feel it in your body anywhere? And what helped you change that emotion or feeling? And then, woohoo, in the handout, I have for you the Red Beast thermometer. Now, I have used the words calm, grumpy, annoyed, angry, furious. I recommend you actually change those to the words the children use that you know. And that's one of the things I highly recommend when I work with children. You need to know what words they use, because these are the words I use, but how did they look at it? Okay, so put their words. And then what does that feel like in their body? And then what can they do to calm it? Or if your school uses zones of regulations, edit that to add those in so the child can understand your different zones and symbols. But you'll see Kay's son, Hatham, who has autism, has actually drawn the pictures and he's done the illustrations in the books, and he's an amazing illustrator. So I highly recommend you print that out. Then if you're interested in the emotional regulation course, not only in that lesson 8 is what I'm sending you and edited of, like, it's lesson 8, but I've just added in some resources and other helpful things on there for you. But basically it's the printout of lesson 8 to let you know what you will get in the course. But there are 15 lessons plus those bonuses on creating your plan, and actually that teach children how they feel using a journal, and the process for teaching those 5 steps for recognizing their emotions in their body and how to introduce language and so forth. But back to the course. Lesson 15, which is teach how to identify the intensity of a range of emotions. It actually has not just the red beast thermometer. It's got in there where I have actually done a Peppa Pig one, and I've got an example of things of how I've used that. It's got a blank template for you. It's got a 5-point dinosaur scale of how one of my students actually loved dinosaurs and how I use that for him to know what it feels like, what it looks like, and what he can do to keep calm. And then I've got a blank one of those. And I also talk about, for some of my children who like fiction, not nonfiction, love nonfiction, not fiction. Like I had a boy who loved the Titanic. Can you imagine? We were able to do a whole thing on how did people feel when they were getting on the Titanic. They're excited to be on the biggest boat in the world and blah, blah, blah. And then how did they feel when the boat was going down? How did the captain feel? How did the passengers feel? And oh my goodness, my students just love that. I've also done it with kids who love Star Wars. How did Luke Skywalker feel when he found out Darth Vader was his father? Can you imagine any of those things? And in fact, Anna Tallermans, again, who I've written a lot of books with, I have written 18 books. So I'm sorry I keep going, I've written a book with this person and that person. But I always think when a parent and a teacher write a book together, that is the best. So Kay, parent of Hatham, the illustrator of the Red Beast books and all the picture books, she has that parent experience. Plus she's a teacher. And so that's why I like working with her. Anna is a parent plus a teacher assistant. So when we add our information together, it's just gold. But with Daniel, what she found is watching TV shows he liked and talking about the emotions of the characters and pausing them. Like he didn't mind pausing the shows if he'd watched them 100 times to talk about them. And she found anchoring that really helpful. She also found that she'd tried everything with his volume control, and he was just very loud as a child. And she found actually using TV characters who use quiet voice, loud voices, made it a lot easier for him to understand. So think about how you can incorporate this child's obsessions. Yes, I'm using the word obsession today because any of you have done the Audi ADHD course now will know that Laura says it's not just a special interest. It's much bigger than that. And the monotropism, the deep focus, I'm embracing that it is beyond a special interest. It's much deeper than that for our children. And it's such an important tool. So I highly recommend you download everything that goes with this week's podcast. Now, if you don't know the Red Beast picture book, it is so beautiful. The pictures in it, the children love it. It's just the most beautiful book that really helps explain anger and what to do when your red beast wakes up. You know, what if someone breaks your leg or takes your leg? Or, you know, you can talk through this. It helps the children understand that you can actually control your red beast. It's not like it's actually it's something you can do to calm. And the children love it because they can then have a word that helps them understand this emotion. My red beast is waking up. Okay. It gives them a tool for teaching to recognize and manage their anger. And it is so beautifully illustrated, and it shows the red beast in Rufus as well as a whole lot of other children. Oh, actually, did Rufus change his name in the new book? Sorry. I just realized. I think I'm sorry. I've been reading the old one for so long that Oh, it's changed to Danny. And that's why we've used Danny in the other book too. It's, so more gender neutral name. So it's Danny, Danni. Sorry. So the book has changed from Rufus to Danny. I keep forgetting that. But it's a beautifully illustrated book that explains that Danny is like a red beast and what wakes up the red beast and what helps him keep calm. But more importantly, it explains to the other children when someone else gets angry, what to do. How I think it's really important children actually understand that all of us get angry. And if your friend is angry, what you can do to help calm them. Because one of the things in the book, which I just love, is Danny goes to the office after he gets angry, not to get in trouble, not to be disciplined or consequences, actually to calm his red beast, to use his sensory tools to calm. And the other children, I often get what about the other children? They saw him get angry. Well, they did, but they need to know he's not in trouble. We all get angry. You're not in trouble if you get angry, but we've got to learn to manage that emotion. So I highly recommend that you think about the Red Beast and the Red Beast workbook. Make sure you jump on my podcast page on my website to get those books. The two are so good together, or just the picture book, and download the activities that go with this week's podcast. Please message me if you have any questions. Now, if you enroll now in the emotional regulation course, what I'm going to do, it's not only $70 off. I'm going to give you, and I'm just going to write it down so I remember, I'm going to give you 6 months to complete the course as a bonus, because I know how busy the end of year is. So you mightn't have time to do this and set it up now, the whole folder and all the laminates and all the activities, but you might start the year with this, because remember, never in the history of calming down has anyone calmed down. So there's no point having a calm down tent or table if the child doesn't know to access it or know their emotion. If you know a child who's constantly ending up in the same area of zone of regulation, we need to do something different. And my emotional regulation course is designed to help you help the children do that. So remember, 7 activities to do as a whole class, $17 off the book bundle, and $70 off the emotional regulation course, plus 6 months to do it. So I can't wait for you to all enjoy reading the Red Beast book. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help, and I love hearing from you.